Heaven, hell, time, space, dimensions, angels, demons, even the mystery religions, all thrown at you at the very beginning as one big bang. That's what the Book of Enoch is.
These are the names of their leaders. Simeazaz, their leader, Arakiba, Ramael, Kokabeel, Tamiel, Ramiel, Danel, Ezekiel, Barakihal, Asael, Almaros, Batarel, Ananel, Zakiel, Samsapeel, Satarel, Turel, Jomjael, Sarael. These are the chiefs of tens. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one. And they began to go in unto them, and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them charms and enchantments, and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant, and bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them, and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds, and beasts, and reptiles, and fish, and to devour one another's flesh, and to drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. And Azazel taught men to make swords, and knives, and shields, and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth, and the art of working them, and bracelets, and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray, and became corrupt in all their ways. Simjaza taught enchantments and root cuttings, Armoros the resolving of enchantments, Barakihal taught astrology, Kokabel the constellations, Ezekiel the knowledge of the clouds, Arakiel the signs of the earth, Shamsiel the signs of the sun, and Sariel the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. And then Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven and saw much blood being shed upon the earth, and all lawlessness being wrought upon the earth. And they said to one another, The earth, made without inhabitant, cries the voice of their crying up to the gates of heaven. And now to you, the holy ones of heaven, the souls of men make their suit, saying, Bring our cause before the Most High. And they said to the Lord of the ages, Lord of lords, God of gods, King of kings, and God of the ages, the throne of thy glory standeth unto all the generations of the ages, and thy name holy and glorious and blessed unto all the ages. Thou hast made all things, and power over all things hast thou, and all things are naked and open in thy sight, and thou seest all things, and nothing can hide itself from thee. Thou seest what Azazel has done, who hath taught all unrighteousness on earth, and revealed the eternal secrets which were preserved in heaven, which men were striving to learn. And Simjaza, to whom thou hast given authority to bear rule over his associates, and they have gone unto the daughters of men upon the earth, and have slept with the women, and have defiled themselves, and revealed to them all kinds of sins. And the women have borne giants, and the whole earth has thereby been filled with blood and unrighteousness. And now, behold, the souls of those who have died are crying and making their suit to the gates of heaven, and their lamentations have ascended, and cannot cease because of the lawless deeds which are wrought on the earth. And thou knowest all things before they come to pass, and thou seest these things, and thou dost suffer them, and thou dost not say to us what we are to do to them in regard to these. Then said the Most High, the Holy and Great One, spake, and sent Uriel to the son of Lamech, and said to him, Go to Noah, and tell him in my name, hide thyself, and reveal to him the end that is approaching, that the whole world will be destroyed, and a deluge is about to come upon the whole earth, and will destroy all that is on it. And now instruct him that he may escape, and his seed may be preserved for all generations of the world.
In search of stability, Ginger studied spell books, and as a young teen became convinced that turning to witchcraft would give her the security she desired.
I did a lot of spells of protection because my home life was so chaotic and I had abuse issues with my stepdad that a lot of the spells I did were for protection. And I felt that they had worked because out of all the children I got beaten the less. Doing rituals and spells gave me a sense of power. Reading tarot cards I thought was a way to see into the future and what was going to happen, so I wouldn't be surprised by things that would come my way.
By the time Ginger was in college, she considered herself a Wiccan and joined a coven of witches.
We thought that we were just pagans, that we were worshiping nature as witches. We didn't feel like we were evil or wrong. And in fact, most witches don't believe in Satan. They believe that there's a goddess, and it's almost like goddess worship.
The coven seemed to provide the close bond Ginger lacked with her own family.
It gave me a sense of belonging and people that were also like-minded, and it gave me a sense of, I think, security because I felt like I could deal with my problems that way, that any problem that we were having, we could deal with it by making a ritual.
Ginger and the other members of her coven cast spells. Some, they claimed, healed people. Other spells were for protection. But every once in a while, even the witches were frightened.
We actually saw beings manifest in the room that we were in, and they were very tall, probably 6.5, 7 foot tall, and they were dressed in robes, and they stood behind those points on the circle that we had drawn. And we didn't talk about it during the ritual, but then after it was done, we said, "Did you guys see that?" And we all had seen the same beings.
These supernatural manifestations scared Ginger, to a point.
Once I was doing a spell and I was in a room and it was rather dark and I had candles lit for the ritual, of course, and a shadowy figure came to the window of my room on the outside of the house, and my dog started howling, not barking but howling. And at that moment I turned around and I saw the shadowy figure almost trying to get in. And I blew out the candles and ran from the room. All the time that I was reading tarot cards or doing things that would frighten me, I would almost be repulsed by it, and I would put it down for a while, but then something would draw me back to it, always.
But not all of Ginger's friends were witches. One was a Christian.
She was very insistent that I needed to go to church with her. And so I began to go to church with her just to make her quit asking me.
Ginger enjoyed the church services and went again, but she didn't see a conflict between Christianity and witchcraft until she started dating Jack, a backslidden Christian who knew nothing about Ginger's other religion.
I had just gotten a new deck of tarot cards, and I was real excited about them because the pictures on them were really neat, and a very expensive deck. And so I had called Jack in and showed him the tarot card deck, and I put him on the table, and he acted like I had thrown a snake down, and he said, "Get those away from me." And that was the first time that anybody had ever reacted negatively to stuff that I had been involved in.
As Ginger found love and acceptance from church members, she realized she needed to make some major changes if she was going to follow what the Bible said about avoiding evil influences.
I started breaking off from the coven right away. They would call me, they would threaten me, they really were angry that I had left their path and started going down this other path. And finally I had to change my phone number and just sever all ties, and I moved to a different house and they couldn't track me after that.
Ginger and Jack married and enjoyed being a part of the church family. But Ginger still didn't understand what a relationship with God was all about.
When I was pregnant with my first child, I began to wonder what to teach him, because at that time I was no longer in the coven. I had not been doing witchcraft or any occult things, and I was wondering what would I teach my child.
Ginger found the answer to her question late one night. She was watching television while nursing her son.
I landed on the 700 Club program because a Satanist was giving his testimony, and he was talking about how he was a satanic high priest and how he wanted to come and talk to a pastor about having a relationship with Christ. I thought if the Lord could accept him being a Satanist, then he can accept me for all that I had done and forgive me. And so that's when I said the sinner's prayer at 2 o'clock in the morning watching TV. I became a Christian.
Ginger put her tarot cards, incense, robes, and spell books in the trash.
So the next day when I took the bag out to the curb and the garbage men took it away, I felt like a whole burden had been lifted from me. I felt much lighter after all that stuff was gone.
Ginger steadily grew in her faith.
Before I became a Christian, I had a lot of doubt. I had a lot of anxiety. I never had peace in my home life or as a child or when I was involved in the occult. But since becoming a Christian, I have moments of just pure peace that you just can't put any price on. Jesus is Lord of my life, and He is alive. He is real. And I just get such a sense of security from Him, knowing that He's there and He is in control of all things.